Hello, my name is Daniel, and I will be presenting a 10-minute documentary on the history of the typewriter and its impact on society. In the eyes of today's generation, word processing is something of an easy endeavor for the average person. A simple text message sent via a smartphone, a social media post, or emails are all examples of how we capture the written word today. How we came to this point is something that is not common knowledge to very many. The typewriter has influenced many of the common practices that we use in today's digital word processing world. This presentation about the history of the typewriter will include a brief history, the invention, the keyboard design, impact on society, and the rise of the computer word processing. The invention of the typewriter provided a turning point on how writing and the written word was captured. Prior to the typewriting machine, writing was a laborsome task as it took a lot of effort to capture the written word, write original documents, and make copies of the document. The typewriter had a tremendous impact on government, businesses, writers, publishers, students, educators, and households. The typewriter was a staple of the business world because of its speed and the fact that it presented a method of standardizing documentation and record keeping. The typewriter advanced the efficiency and the speed of document creation, allowing for information to be distributed quickly and accurately. The fact that communication could be sped up was a major reason why the typewriter was an institution in society. Notable typewriting manufacturers included Remington & Sons, IBM, Imperial Typewriters, Underwood Typewriter Company, and Olympia. The writing machine had many different prototypes, designs, and models. There were well over 112 writing machines invented by various individuals. According to the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C., practical writing machines became technologically feasible as early as the 14th century. The typewriter gained traction in the 18th century as a patent was awarded to Henry Mill in 1714 for an artificial machine or method of impressing or transcribing of letters singular or progressively one after another, as in writing, whereby all writings whatsoever may be engrossed in paper or parchment. The first American patent was awarded in 1829 for a writing machine and was given to William Burt of Detroit, Michigan. According to IBM, numerous other men tried to perfect a typewriting machine during the next few decades of the 19th century, but each effort had more than its share of flaws. The most prevalent drawback was speed. For all of the mechanical wizardry, the early typewriters performed more slowly than an individual could with a pen. The turning point for the typewriter came in the 1860s. The Smithsonian Museum credits the invention of the first commercially successful typewriter to American inventor Charles Latham Scholes, with the help of his associates Carlos Glyden and Samuel Soule. The invention took place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The design of the first model had the look of a small piano. The success of the invention didn't come until the late 1880s. An individual named James Densmore worked hard to get a company to produce the typewriter. The company of Remington, known best for weapons and sewing machines, was interested in the development and manufacturing of the typewriter. Remington's Model 1 was also known as the Scholes-Glyden typewriter. According to IBM, the influence of the sewing machine division of Remington & Sons clearly showed in Model 1. While the typewriter itself looked remarkably like a present-day machine, it was mounted on a stand similar to a sewing machine table. The first model of the Remington typewriter did not have very much success, but with the introduction of an improved model with enhanced functionality and the look resembling more modern typewriters, Remington found additional success. An important feature of the Model 2 included a shift key which allowed for both upper and lower case letters. By 1909, 89 separate typewriter manufacturers existed in the United States alone. So popular had the new device become, and as predicted, the typewriter had become indispensable. Facts about the original typewriter, as designed by Scholes, is the design of the keys. The keyboard is the very same design that we use today as it was designed for the Remington Model 1. Scholes filed another patent which included a new keyboard arrangement. Issued in 1878, U.S. Patent number 207559 marked the first documented appearance of the QWERTY layout. The deal with Remington proved to be an enormous success. By 1890, there were more than 100,000 QWERTY-based Remington-produced typewriters in use across the country. There is much debate on how and why the keyboard was designed in such a manner. One theory discusses that the design of the keyboard was related to help the typewriter alleviate any mechanical jamming. Another theory about the design is the argument that the design was made for telegraph operators, as it would make work easier for them. Modern typewriter. The landscape of the world was changing. In the mid-1800s, there were well over 40,000 typewriters that had been sold. A majority of the typewriters were sold to government offices, banks, and businesses. The rapid expansion of capitalist firms and government agencies, accompanied by the growth of correspondence and record-keeping, led to a mounting demand for clerical labor. The demand was met in part by the availability of literate female labor. Businesses purchased a lot of typewriters and were in major need of employees who possessed such skills. A lot of women were trained and hired to operate the typewriters. The typewriter changed the dynamics of how a document was written. The machine allowed for a document to have a common look and feel and gave documentation a professional look. Also, a document had the exact same type, opposed to having variations of handwriting, which some could be legible and while others were not. As the expansion of standardized communication started to be established, a demand for skilled typists was evident. Many skilled typists were hired, and many of these positions were filled by women. The YWCA was instrumental in training women as typists, and businesses and commercial colleges quickly added typewriter training to their curriculum. There was a demand for skilled typists. The typewriter brought female secretary into existence. Before the machine, the position was seen as a way into the world of commerce for likely young men intent on business careers. With the adoption of the machine came the women trained to operate them, and the position of secretary was quickly redefined. The typewriter had an impact on the business world and opened the door for many women who established themselves in the business world. The following are some examples where the typewriter had a major impact. The newsroom. Typewriters entered the newsroom without the fanfare that accompanied its arrival in the business office, but they quickly became a must-have. Writers and publishers and publishing offices. The importance of the typewriter for professional writers is in the process of submission, not composition. Editors increasingly demanded for clear, typewritten copies. Schools. The typewriter was adopted into education and classroom. Typewriting classes was included into curriculums as a means of teaching students to use the proper technique of typing, a skill that was deemed important for higher education and professional work settings. The typewriter did have an impact on the world, as it did combine with other forces to help women become secretaries, reporters to become professionals, and wordsmiths to become authors. Also, the typewriter created a level of professionalism and communication and helped to provide an effective and efficient communication management system. In the 1970s, word processing started to make an emergence. Word processing allowed individuals to make mistakes, correct them, move things around, and change their minds in ways that would not require endless retyping on a conventional typewriter. By the 1990s, word processing became just another program, software, in a personal computer. The computer age changed how people viewed typewriters. It was the end of an era. Generation, word processing is something of an easy endeavor for the average person. Over the history of the typewriter, the influence of the typewriter has been seen in many of the common practices that we use in today's digital word processing. For example, the design of the keyboard was created with the first commercially successful typewriter. The typewriter has also had a major impact on society and on individuals. The typewriter is seen as an invention that has had a great impact in history. The invention of the typewriter provided a turning point on how writing and the written word was captured. Prior to the typewriting machine, writing was a laborsome task that took a lot of effort to capture the written word, write original documents, and make copies of a document.